With the 2024 season only days away, Russell and Sam take you through the 2024 season preview.
Hello and welcome back to the British Touring Car Podcast. Yes, we are back for another season. You may or may not have seen us at Media Day in our new team wear.
Absolutely, it will be easy to spot trackside this year as we have got hats and we've also got t-shirts, but this being England, I don't think we'll get a chance to wear them.
Yeah, hoodies might have been
a
better reinvestment down the line.
Global warming, it'll be fine. A couple of years' time, they'll come into their own. It'll be absolutely fine. So yeah, if you do see us trackside, as ever, feel free to come over and say hi. We do have a small amount of stickers on us this year as well. So if you want a Btcp sticker, I haven't got one to hand. That would have been more helpful, but there we go. Then they like the sort of one on the back of my phone there. So yeah, come and say hello and feel free to come and chat to us about the touring car season as it goes on. We're here today to do a proper preview of the upcoming season, who to look out for, who's on the grid, calendar, all that kind of stuff. So we're going to take you through straight from the top.
So looking back to last season then, we're going to take a look at the drivers which are not going to be on this year's grid and have moved on to possibly bigger, possibly better things.
Yeah, so first of all, Tom Chilton, Tom Ingram, Ronan Pearson, Nick Halstead, all still in the same team, still in the same car. They're on the 2024 grid, and we'll go into what we expect from each driver in a moment. Then we move on to WSR. We have seen change in the off-season. So currently, at time of recording, there is Colin Turkington, Adam Morgan, and Jake Hill, no change. Stephen Jelly has gone off to the Porsche Carrera Cup, Great Britain. So you're going to see him on the support package this year. We will be doing a quick overview of the support packages when the final entry lists are released. At time recording, they're not released yet. So rather than do it as a bit part, we'll do it later on. He will be racing for Team Parker Racing within that series. So yeah, he's one to definitely look out for in the Porsches. And on the official TOCA entry list, there is a TBC against the BMW's name. We are expecting a fourth car to run. There was a fourth car at Media Day.
You are expecting a fourth car.
I'm expecting a fourth car. There was a car under wraps at Media Day.
Yeah.
Thompson obviously has done the test at Brands Hatch with them. I think we will see it announced, and probably the way we record the second we finish editing and release this, it will come. We're not going to speculate who it is, but that is what the situation we have at BMW. Over at Toyota, this has seen a lot of change in the off-season. So Rory Butcher has taken a sabbatical. He's due back in 2025, and he's effectively been replaced by Andrew Watson. Ricky Collin has gone off to British GT, racing a Lamborghini with his father. He's been effectively replaced by Rob Huff, so it'll be interesting how he gets on. And the third car has gone, so George Gamble has left the series. He's also in Porsche Carrera Cup. He's with Century Motorsport. And instead of running 3 Toyotas, they're running 4, although it's under slightly different teams this year. We've got the LKQ synthetic Euro car parts with everything else, machine.
All the sponsors.
And that's Josh Cook, and that is Aidan Moffat. There's no change at Napa, so we've still got Ash Sutton, Dan Camish, Sam Osborne, and Daniel Rowbottom.
Don't want to change your winning formula, really, do you?
Absolutely not. Why would you? There's no change as such at PMR, except that obviously Andrew Watson has moved Toyota, as we said. ATS is still there, along with Mikey Doble, and they're feeling but they're not in interest, so they're not running the third car. Seems they couldn't get a driver, whether that's for budget reasons or otherwise, but it's going to be back to a 2-car team this year, which is a shame because they've done well last year with the 3-car team.
I think it might be a bit of both. I think it may be a case of they maybe had a driver lined up and the budget hasn't quite come in time. There are rumours about a couple of drivers that it could well have been. It's difficult to say at this early stage whether it's going to be a positive thing for them or whether it's going to be a negative thing. Obviously, not having that third car, not having as much data this year, but they did a hell of a lot of learning last year.
Yeah.
So if they can kick on and use what they've learned last year, then both of them, again, could have a really good season.
Yep. As I say, Josh Cook and Aidan Moffat have moved to the Toyota sister team. Will Powell has gone to TCR. He's driving a Honda over there. And Jade Edwards, at time of recording, has got no seat and no announcement for her plans for 2024. She has been linked to TCR and pretty much every other series going.
Yeah.
But at time of recording, no plans announced.
Yeah, and she's also got her 10 for 10 sponsorship package out there, putting feelers out, basically, trying to get the money together. It appears for a parent touring car drive, but I think that's looking less and less likely being only a week away from the start of the season.
Yep, now we go around the team hard sort of list of drivers. So we'll start with Dexter Patterson. He's gone to the GT4 European Series with Mahiki Racing. I hope I pronounced that right. Apologies if I have not. Dowden Lyon has moved to Unlimited Motorsport, and he will be competing in the touring cars. More on that later.
Hopefully.
Dan Lloyd has moved to Porsche Carrera Cup Great Britain, and he is with Toro Verde, so keep an eye out for him on the support packages. Bobby Thompson, at time of recording, no seat and no announcements for 2024. Heavily linked to the BMW seat, of course, but at time of recording, no plans. Michael Crease, no news, no announcements. He has been linked to some truck racing, but it's not been fully announced yet.
It looks like that truck racing deal isn't going to come through for him this season. I think a couple of big sponsors might have pulled out on him, so he could well be taking a year out of motorsport.
Nick Hamilton has been promoting his book in the off-season, as you've probably seen, him making some appearances on television. At time of recording, he's got no seat, no announcement. He had been linked with potentially return to Team Hard or Unlimited Motorsport as some of the...
what was announced as Team Hard and now could well be changing its guise.
Yeah. He's been linked to that in some of the news reports, but at time of recording, no firm announcement. And then we have Rob Huff, who is at Toyota this season, as mentioned above. Jack Butel, who's in the Porsche Carrera Cup Great Britain. Toro Verde, so he's teammates with Dan Lloyd this season. And then finally, One Motorsport has gone from the grid, which leads us to the changes for the year, which is Chris Smiley and Scott Sumpton in the hot seats at Team Restart Racing, running Cupras for the season.
Yeah, so they've obviously picked up a couple of licenses, probably from what Team Hard were running last year. We've seen Restart Racing in the touring cars before. We've obviously seen Smiley before, but it's certainly going to be a baptism of fire, shall we say, for Sumpton coming into the series. I think he's got a lot to learn, and it was interesting actually seeing Dan Lloyd there, more specifically with Smiley at Media Day, but I wonder whether he's going to pass knowledge on to both Smiley and Sumpton to help them develop that car for this season, because we saw last season Bobby Thompson and Dan Lloyd at points were getting a tune out of that car and getting some really good results from it.
Absolutely. Right, let's go through then the drivers on the grid. So you've already started a little bit there, but that's fine. And we'll start with Darryl DeLion at
hopefully
Unlimited Motorsport. There's been a lot that's happened in the off-season around Team Hard, and I think it was originally thought this would be a new... Team Hard announced they were back. Obviously, that was announced, and I think this was when they announced Darryl DeLion. On the official entry list, it is Unlimited Motorsport. It might just be a new name. This happens all the time. Alliance Racing, of course, apparently these things do change, so let's not get too carried away. The biggest concern will be that it was deja vu at Media Day, wasn't it? It was no testing, potentially stuff not on the car, and then when it deluged of rain, he went out for a quick lap, which is basically what happened last year.
Not even necessarily a quick lap. It was just an installation lap to see whether everything was working, as you say, while it was absolutely bucketing down with water. And yeah, I think it's going to be touch and go to whether he's actually going to be there for the first round. Even if he is there, he may not still get out on circuit. Obviously, we saw the performances from him last season. They were really encouraging. To come into a seat like that in the troubles that they were said to be having and perform the way he did, he certainly didn't disgrace himself. He was able to score points. And you and I think we're both thinking he's got a decent future in touring cars as long as he can get a seat. But I'm not sure this is the right seat for him.
Only time will tell on that point. I think you're right. In terms of what he's got to be looking for this season, I think he's got to just be focusing on trying to get as many points scored in the Jack Sears as possible.
Yep.
I'm not sure he'll be competing for points this year, if I'm being totally, as in outright points, if I'm being totally honest this season. I hope I'm wrong. I can't help but feel sorry for him the way the season started. I hope it's not a sign of things to come, because let's be honest, it wasn't the smoothest ride of Team Hard last year, and there are a lot of worrying, repetitive signs at the moment.
Yeah. Anyway, on to a couple of Cupras that Team Hard were running last season, as I've already spoken about. Restart Racing there with Chris Smiley and Scott Sumpton. A couple of bits of sponsorship on there, which we've seen before. Norlin, which obviously Smiley raced for in that grey and pink when they were running the FK2 Civics. Chris has got plenty of experience in the sport. He's taken a win along the way, had some podiums as well. He's had some up and down drives, been involved in some instances, although pretty much everyone has that's been in the touring cars. So what are we going to expect from them this season?
It's difficult. I mean, they've got a lot of running in media day. The car is decent. We've seen Bobby Thompson get good results in that car, and Dan Lloyd as well. Obviously, Scott Sumton comes in as a complete rookie to the touring car series. He's not got a great deal of racing behind him either.
Nope.
Also, he was in TCR previously to come in here. For him, I think he's just got to focus on his sort of debut season, make it as solid as possible, learn as much as he possibly can, and race the best he possibly can do. For Smiley, let's not forget he is a race winner. He has taken podiums in this sport as well. So I think really this is going to be a development season for both of them. Restart Racing, I hope they're going to be here to stay in the series. I think they're going to have to treat this as a little bit of a development season, see what they can get along the way. I think they can both pick up points along the way.
Yeah, so do I.
But yeah, I think that fairly low expectations for a great debut team. Obviously, they've got to learn hybrid. Chris Smiley hasn't driven the hybrid system in the touring cars before, and this year it's super good. It's going to be really good.
Double what it was last year.
Yes.
I hope it's not doubly bad.
Let's insert meme here later on. But yeah, as I say, I kind of have no expectations. I don't mean it in a good way. I don't think they're going to bomb. I just think that it's difficult to know. It's a new team coming into the sport. It's difficult to know what the potential of the Coopers are because they potentially never had that full potential unlocked. They've got a lot of running in media day, which is really good to see.
And Sumton wasn't off the pace by a mile.
No.
He was competitive with Halstead, who I think is probably going to be fighting for most of the year. And as you say, we're going to get those mad races where he might garner a few points.
And again, his focus in particular has got to be the Jack Sears and just score as many points in that as he possibly can.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, moving on to PMR Racing, as we said, down to a 2-car team, which is a bit of a shame, unfortunately. The 3-car expansion worked really well last season. Obviously, the team principal has stated his intentions on winning a title in this series as well. It feels like a bit of a backward step, if I'm honest, this season.
Yeah.
They have got 2 very solid drivers in Aaron Taylor-Smith and Mikey Doble. And if the car performs like it did in the second half of the season, they could well fight for a reverse grid win, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's Mikey Doble will want to win the Jack Sears this year, having missed out narrowly last year. That'll be his goal. Obviously, he was the only person last year to stop Nappa's dominance in the pole stakes. So
somehow, I'm not sure that will be recreated this season.
No, but you never know. Taylor Smith is a very solid pair of hands. I think he'll have an eye on getting onto that top step of the podium. Obviously, he got on the podium quite a lot last time as an independent winner.
Yep.
And I think he can certainly do it this year. And with Josh Cook as a constructor this year, Aaron Taylor-Smith will have to be focusing, I think, on trying to win the Independence Trophy.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned Josh Cook there, and of course they've moved across into a Toyota this season, bringing all that sponsorship with them, running a satellite team alongside Toyota Gazoo. Aidan Moffat has joined him as well, and I think it's going to be an interesting year for these two. Getting used to a new car, obviously they weren't getting the results that they really wanted out of that Honda, and something had to change, really, and it is a big change for them.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It's going to be an interesting one, as you say. Both underperformed, I think it's fair to say, last season. I think Josh Cook will be, I mean, obviously his idea will be racing for the title.
Yeah, definitely.
I think they're going to be away off it this season, personally. However, if Cook can get himself another win, I think that will be a good season for him, given where they were last year. As for Moffat, I think he's got to get himself back on that podium or back into scoring points in the sharp end more often than not, as that was sort of lacking last season as well. Obviously, there was a lot of disruption at the team last year, which we won't go into. We've done that to death in previous podcasts, etc. The car looks mean. The car looks fast. We know the Toyota Corolla is a race-winning car. We know these are both race-winning drivers. But I do feel like it might be a little bit of a development season for them as they learn the car, learn the systems.
One thing that I'm going to be looking out for this season is we all know that Josh Cook goes really well at Thruxton.
Yes.
Is it down to having a Honda at Thruxton, or is it just that he is good at Thruxton? If he can gain that same confidence that he had there last year in this car, then possibly from sort of like fourth round of the season onwards, we may see him build that confidence in the car and be able to drag more performances out of it as well.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point. I think that these two will definitely improve as the season goes on. They're arguably a little bit off the pace at me today, arguably.
Yeah.
But again, what they're running, what sort of setup they're running, it's very difficult to judge a lot of data from me today. we'll get on to that with BMW in particular in a moment.
It all depends on how much data is going to be shared from Gazoo as well.
Yeah.
There may be different driving styles in there that may not work for one driver and will work really well for another. Obviously, we saw Aiden still struggle when he was teammates with Ash, because Ash can drive anything.
In fairness, we've seen Camus struggle as a teammate in Ash. So,
exactly.
But yeah, absolutely. We'll see what happens. I think you're right. They'll improve as the season goes on. Absolutely. Then this is a really interesting one. Who's up next? And I went early last year with my dark horses.
You were sceptical, weren't you? When Rob Huff was announced, you were sceptical.
Sceptical is the wrong word. I simply opened a debate whether this is an upgrade or downgrade to what was at this team last year when you look at what Butcher and Collard bought.
Yeah.
However, having seen both these at Media Day, they both already look very at home in the car.
Yeah.
They both look quick in the car. And
they both rub tyre barriers.
Yeah, so
in the car.
They're both on it.
Yeah.
Huff has sort of announced his intentions to tick the boxes in terms of taking the outright championship. He's certainly got the ability to do it. And that car, I think, has a lot more to give than we've seen, particularly in the last year.
Yeah.
It's really difficult because I went for Roy Butcher last year as a sort of dark horse, and it wasn't. It wasn't at all. Whereas now, I don't know. I think that both of these will take race wins this season. I really do. I don't think it's going to be as tight. As dominated by one team as last year. It's going to be a lot tighter the field, and I think both of these will take race wins this season. I really do. Whether they can win anything outright, I'm less convinced.
The way that Rob settled into the sport in his first season, it really makes me think that he could actually push for a title as long as he's got the car underneath him. He might be a little bit race rusty.
I'm going to say he's coming up against four-time champion Sutton,
four-time champion
Turkington, Jake Hill, who is surely
waiting in the wings,
and Ingram, who could be a three-time of luck and is quick.
Yeah.
Those four
and wants his title back.
Yeah, those four for me are still the favourites.
Yeah.
Huff potentially an outside. But I think for Huff, this season, what he's got to do is not get outshone by Watson.
Oh, yeah.
Because Watson,
definitely.
I think Watson could outshine him. And I think he could outscore, outqualify, all those kind of things. I think at the end of the year, if he's 5 from 5 in terms of qualifying and close on points, he'll be happy. Because what he won't want is to come in and avoid his expectations and be absolutely schooled by Watson, which could happen because Watson impressed very much so last year.
Getting into the teams that we expect to be the probable title contenders this season, Accelerate Motorsport, they have stuck with their lineup from last season. Tom Ingram obviously looking to try and retain his title. Chilton has a new engineer this year, and then Ronan Pearson is certainly going to be looking to fight towards that Jack Sears championship. Had a little word with him on Media Day, and he certainly thinks that is more than achievable.
And Nick Halstead.
Oh, yeah, and Nick Halstead.
Yeah. Not a great deal to add from me yet. I mean, there is a standout driver. His name is Tom Ingram, and we fully expect him to be taking the title fight to Ash Sutton again this year. Chilton did look a bit quicker at Media Day, perhaps, and to be interested to see what he can do this year in the car. Tom's going to need some help, I think, at the sharp end of the grid. So, yeah. It'd be good if Tom Chilton can assist Tom Ingram a little bit more this season. Halstead and Pearson have got to focus on the Jack Sears Trophy for Pearson. I think he should be winning it outright this year, if I'm honest with you, looking at who's in there. We'll get to that in a moment. And for Halstead, if he can maybe nick around here and there and just be a bit more competitive in this season. Let's not forget he did score points last year.
Yep.
Not everybody did. Nick did.
He did get them taken away from engine penalties, but I accept that's not his fault.
He still scored the points on the road, so not everyone else did. So we'll see what happens this year with them. I think that Tom Ingram will outshine everybody else at that team again. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
So BMW then, at the moment, at the time of recording, as I say, we only have 2 WSR drivers announced. We're obviously Hill with the Laser Tools package as well. So Turkington, Morgan and Jake Hill with a 4th seat pending. We won't speculate as we're doing that for too long in the off-season about who that might be. But Bobby Thompson, please.
Let us know who you would like to see in the seat or your dream driver to see in that seat. But yeah.
Yeah, for Colin, this is a really interesting year. He was a long way off the title last year. I'd like to think he would bounce back a bit this year. But
BMW knew they were a long way off last year as well. And I think that's why they've advertised that they've made so many changes to the car aerodynamically and engine-wise.
Yeah, and if Hill hadn't had that freak sort of retirement at Silverstone,
he'd have been there or thereabouts.
He'd have been a lot closer, and who knows, could have been a different story. Hill, in my opinion, vastly outshone everybody else at the team last year. I think Colin and Adam have a little bit of ground to make up this season, and I think Hill will again be challenging for that title outright. For Morgan, I think a good season for him would be getting a race win, so that was lacking. And actually, just scoring points more often. Last year was a little bit stop-start for him. I think he went 7 rounds without scoring something.
Yeah,
he had a big gap in the season.
He accepted himself in the On the Limit series that his driving just wasn't up to standard in that middle part of the season.
Yeah.
He had some things going on off the grid, which can affect you, and your head can be elsewhere. But once he gets dialed into a race car, then we know he can take those wins and he can take the podiums as well.
Yep. Who will finish higher, Jake or Colin?
Jake.
Agreed.
And the reigning champions, Napa Racing, who took pretty much everything they could last year, apart from the Jack Sears Trophy. They have fully retained their lineup as well. Ash Sutton actually signing a 2-year deal to keep him at the team till the end of 2026. Reigning champion will obviously be looking to retain his title and take that record 5th British Touring Car title. But he's handsomely backed up by Dan Camish and Dan Rowbottom. And then Sam Osborne will be looking to, again, improve on what he did last season.
Yeah, Camish, I think, in particular, will be wanting to sort of give a title charge himself this year. It's been a bit stop-start in his Napa career. So I think he'll want to be a bit closer to Ash Sutton this year. For Dan Rowbottom, another season where he's taking podiums in and around the wins will be a good year for him. I don't think he's quite ready for a crack at the title yet, but we will see what happens. He's certainly got the equipment underneath him. But
I think if Camish gets over having a bad round at Donington, then he might be in with more of a chance, whether it's a big crash or a fire. It certainly hasn't been kind to him over the last couple of years.
No, for Osborne, I think his target this year has got to be in the points more often than not. That's got to be his target. Obviously, not eligible for the Jack Sears, having taken an outright podium last season, which is a great achievement in itself. But I think this season, he needs to be in the points more often than not. So that's the teams at a glance. Let's take us through now the calendar for the season. Obviously, we kick off at Donington Park in a couple of weeks' time, a couple of days' time, actually, on the 27th and 28th of April. We then move on to Brands Hatch Indy from the 11th and the 12th of May, and then Snetterton 300 Circuit 25th and 26th of May.
Yeah, we've got birthday weekends to celebrate for 2 touring car events this year, which will be nice.
Absolutely.
And then into June, we move to Thruxton on the 8th and 9th. I think that's going to be a hot one, which we may see some. We may see some hard tyres even struggle at. Alton Park on the 22nd and 23rd of June, which is always picturesque. Into the mid-season break, where we then come back at Croft at the 27th and 28th of July. On to up north in Knockhill, 10th and 11th of August. Donington Park GP Circuit on the 26th and 27th of August. And the Silverstone National on the 21st and 22nd of September.
And then we round it all off at Brands Hatch Grand Prix Loop on the 5th and 6th of October.
As we do every year.
Yeah, it's a good season finale, that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've mentioned the Jack Sears a little bit throughout this podcast. So we're just going to take you through now who is eligible this year for the Jack Sears Trophy. Obviously, as a reminder, this is anybody who hasn't scored an outright podium in the touring car. So by definition, all rookie drivers or all debut drivers go into this.
Yep.
So this year is a slightly shortened or smaller field, which might make it a lot more competitive. To remind you,
whole grid's smaller, which doesn't really help. But
that is true. To remind you, to score points at the Jack Sears, all you need to do is finish, and if you're the highest placed Jack Sears driver, you take the win for that round. So there will be Mikey Doble, who I think joint favourite.
Yeah, it's got to be between him and Pearson, as we've already mentioned. Pearson's certainly going for a title tilt in this one, and those two have probably got the more competitive cars.
Absolutely. There's also Scott Sumpton, Darryl DeLine and Nick Halstead who will be battling out for the Jack Sears Trophy. And as a final thing before we sort of wrap up, qualifying has changed a lot this year. It's very, very different. It's very different indeed. Obviously, historically, we have had the 10 shootout in a couple of the rounds.
Yeah.
But this year, bear with me because it's slightly difficult to explain. So the field is going to be split into 2 parts based on FP2 results. It'll be odds and evens, basically. There'll then be 2 groups that compete over 10 minutes. So odds compete, evens compete for 10 minutes, and the top 6 from each of those odds and evens go into Q2, which means there's 12 cars overall in Q2. We then have the fastest 6 cars from Q2 out of the 12, so half again, which then go into a top Q3 top 6 shootout. So we've got Q1 all the field 2 parts, Q2 top 12 from the first 2 parts, and then Q3 top 6 from the top 12 from the
Do you think it's going to make it more entertaining?
I think it's going to make Saturdays longer.
Yeah, that's my worry as well.
But we have got slightly less support series on the grid, so that's quite a good way of combating that. Qualifying is quite dull. It just is. It's watching cars. Well, it's watching cars go around the track, and the problem I think that touring cars has, where F1 has created a little bit of excitement because you have got that shorter qualification periods, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, and you've got that time to get through. We had 30. We've traditionally had 30 minutes. You've got plenty of time to get it right, basically.
The thing is with touring cars, which is the difference from F1, apart from obviously how the cars look and how they perform, tyres. In touring cars, you'll maybe get 3 sets of tyres that you can use in a qualifying session. And being how short the circuits are, you're likely to get traffic and stuff like that. You can't just go and bolt a new set on unless you're really willing to throw a lot of money at the championship. So having a qualifying tyre might well benefit the championship later down the line, and getting people to maybe go out, right, time attack 1 lap. I think that might be quite exciting, but I also think that this way will change it up enough from what it has been recently.
I think so. It has a bit of jeopardy to it, doesn't it? If you have a difficult outlap or you drop it in the gravel or anything like that, you've not got the time to put it right. At the minute, you can basically spend 20 minutes pootling about, having a nice time, and then you can just bang in the lap at the end.
Yep.
It's also going to make things very interesting if one session is wet, one session is dry. It's going to be that's going to be interesting. As I say, I don't get overly excited about the qualifying in F1 because Verstappen puts it on pole week in, week out, and
it's more interesting for the drivers behind that and who is going to be second.
Generally, it's the same top 10 in F1 the entire time, but the grid is so tight in touring cars. We've seen the whole field be separated by less than a second in the past. That I think we could see some really exciting qualifying and some big names missing out on the top 6 shootout and even possibly Q2 shootout as well. So I'll be interested to see how that goes for this season. It certainly is worth a watch, and we'll be keeping an update on that on Saturdays where possible. Obviously, you like qualifying more than me because you are slightly more nerdy when it comes to well, you are slightly more nerdy when it comes to these kind of things.
But and throughout the season we may even look at doing watch alongs for qualifying. Once people getting to know and understand the format.
Assuming we get to that point where we understand it.
Yes, as well. And we'll also probably look to do watch-alongs where we're not going to the races. We may do a watch-along for each race, or maybe race 3 of the weekend, whichever we think is going to be the possibly most exciting one. Let us know your thoughts on that, whether you want to join us on YouTube Live or, as we all know, going live on TikTok this season for the Btcc is free to view for everyone on there. We may also stream on there during the race weekend. Yeah,
we'll see how the season goes with that. This is the time of the pod where we normally do our predictions. However, last year's award show and sealed sort of predictions worked so nicely. We'll be doing the same again this season. So nearer the time, we're going to give BMW a couple of days to potentially put that 3rd car in.
You're waiting for it, aren't you? It could change a lot.
I think it could change a lot. Yeah, it could change a lot. So I don't want, and last year I had people that were in the right position, had other people not join the championship later on. So I'm not losing out on technicalities again this year. I'm here to take back that trophy. So we'll get our predictions sealed nearer the time. So if BMW could hurry up and announce that final seat, that'd be most appreciated here, that's for sure.
Yeah, do let us know your thoughts and feelings, how you see the season going, who might be your drivers to watch out for, or even teams to look out for. And we look forward to really seeing you at the circuits. We'll be there with our new regalia.
Okay.
Our new team uniforms and stuff like that. And I might even pick up some PMR merch this year.
Wow. And buy it or just pick it up and put it back on the pick?
We'll see.
Absolutely. We look forward to seeing some of you guys trackside, and also for you listening to us throughout the 2024 season. If you've not done already, subscribe, like the social media. There's going to be a lot going on this season. down there. That's fine. Yeah, make sure you get the bell on YouTube, otherwise you won't always be alerted when a new video comes out. Make sure you like in the Facebook and the Instagram and the TikTok. There's going to be a lot of activity on the socials this year. We've spent all day today getting ourselves ready for that post-media day. So we're hoping for a really big year. Looking forward to having you along for the ride. Enjoy the 2024 season. I don't think it's going to be as dominated by one team as it was last year. If it is, sorry, but stick with us and we'll take you through.
You've got a hat to eat now.
I'm not eating that. It cost me money. Stick along with us and we'll try and make it as exciting as possible.
Yeah, we'll see you again soon for the preview for Donington Park. What? Gigi Buffon.
Indeed. So I've got to look at the camera.
Yeah, imagine you're looking at me on the screen.
Okay, that's quite helpful.
Does that work for you?
It does.
Because then when I look at you, I'm looking just off to...
The only question I would have is I'm quite a lot taller than you because of the chair difference.
Yes.
I'm not sure how we can change that because you are slightly shorter than me, but not to this level.
I have a shorter torso.
I'm slightly taller than you. We're talking inches, we're not talking... The thing is, it's just going to collapse halfway through. It would be quite funny.
No, because it's all the way down. I've just put the cushion under me.
Okay, well that's better.
So
I can slouch a bit if you want.
Yeah.
That's right, isn't it? He loves his hat.
We'll start with...
He loves his hat.
No, just remind people that...
I'm not putting it on, I'm just sorting my hair. Oh.
No, and then sweep it off once we're...
I've just sorted my hair. Fine, there's going to be a bit of editing for you to do where you cut out me when I'm redoing my hair then, but that's fine.
Happy with that?
I'm not happy what I was going to do to my hair, but... Yes.